And intercept form basically means it's written as factors. So if you have a quadratic function and it's written as factors, oops. Okay, so here is your intercept form. And the information that's provided by this is these two factors give you your x-intercepts, your zeros. Okay, and so your x-intercepts are going to be the following points. Okay, again, it'll be P0 and Q0. Those will be your x-intercepts. And then the axis of symmetry. Can be located halfway between these 2 points. Okay, so if you basically take the average of P and Q, okay, so your axis of symmetry will be x is equal to P plus Q divided by 2. So it's the average of those. And then if you look at the A value on this, is the same thing. If A is greater than 0, your parabola opens up. If A is less than 0, your parabola is going to open down. Okay. So let's take a look at an example of how we can sketch a graph using this form. If I were to give you the following function, if you looked at this function here and we wanted to sketch it, the information that we could provide from this is our graph opening up or down? Okay, so we know it's going to open up. And to find where your intercepts are, you basically, again, just take your expression inside each of the grouping symbols here and set it equal to 0. So what value of x would give you a 0 in this factor? -3. So that's one of your zeros. Okay, so the point -3, 0. And then the other point would be 7, 0. So those are your two intercepts. And we know that this graph is opening up. Okay, and then all we need to do is figure out, I'm going to put this in kind of dashed lines here. Okay, we know our graph is going to be this parabola. Where does our axis of symmetry fall? Okay, so if we take the average, not the average of these numbers here, but the average of our intercepts, so 7 plus a -3 divided by 2 is equal to, okay, so there is our axis of symmetry. Okay, so we know that this vertex, if we had to label the vertex, what is the, so the axis of symmetry is x equals 2. So what is the x-intercept? Or I'm sorry, the x-coordinate of our vertex? 2. And then to find the corresponding y-coordinate, we need to plug that value into our equation. So if we plug in a 2 here, so we're looking at 4. 2 plus 3 is 5. And 2 minus 7 is -5. And so if we look at this, 4 times 5 is 20. 20 times negative 5 is negative 100, right? So obviously the scaling of this is off a little bit, or it's scaled tighter on the y's. Right, it's very steep. Would you imagine that this would be steep, seeing how this number 4 is greater than 1? It's the same rule as what was here. If your number, the larger the number is out front here, this a value, the steeper your graph. The smaller it is, again, as if it's less than 1, it's going to be a flat graph. Okay. So once again, if you're given these intercept forms, what I expect to see labeled is the x-intercepts. I also expect to see the vertex and the axis of symmetry. Okay. All right, where are my x-intercepts? Negative 1 and 3. Okay, so if I plot those, okay, and I can label them just to the outside. Okay, where's my axis of symmetry going to be? So I have 3 plus a negative 1 all over 2. So I get 2 halves, or 1. So here is my axis of symmetry. It's halfway between these. Is my graph going to open up or down? So I expect my vertex to be up here somewhere, right? Because my graph has to be open down. Okay, so my axis of symmetry was x equals 1. So that means that my vertex is going to have an x-coordinate of 1. And so what I can do now is I can test that and see what value of y that gives me. So if I evaluate y of 1, plugging in a 1 up here, I get 1 plus 1, and then 1 minus 3. Okay. And so the negatives cancel, half of 2 cancels, so I wind up with a 2. Would that be consistent with what you would expect to see? Yeah, it fits all the other tendencies that you were expecting to see. And so you can label your vertex up here, 1, 2, and you are finished. So this is intercept form. So you have the standard form, you have vertex form, and intercept form. And each one can kind of give you different types of information. Okay? And when I ask you to graph or sketch any of those, I will specify what information I want. Okay, and so it'll be tailored to the type of question you're looking at. And the last thing